Hello and welcome back, and today I want to talk about a subject that's been slowly bubbling to the surface of a lot of the videos that I've done here on the channel about PlayStation 5 and SSDs. For those that are newish to the channel, you'll know that way back in 2021, summer 2021 to be precise, when Sony first enabled M2 NVMe upgrades or just storage upgrades on their PlayStation 5, you'll know I did loads and loads and loads of videos. I did heatsink performance test SSDs. I got really into it. It combined loves of two things in my life: gaming and storage, and those two things together, well, I had a lot of work to do. But fast forward to now at the start of 2024, and at the moment there are loads of drives that work on the PS5. There's loads of heatsinks, there's loads of storage out there, but recent leaks towards the end of 2023 and the start of 2024 have been indicating two things. Number one, that there is going to be a PlayStation 5 Pro. That's not a big secret. Let's be honest, the last few iterations of PlayStation has always seen sub-versions out there. Hell, right now, the PlayStation 5 has already released a slimmer, slightly smaller, detachable Blu-ray drive version of itself at the tail end of 2023. And going into 2024, it should come as no surprise that those leaks from either development leaks, or they were looking at specifications for future games and the hardware architecture, and from other leaks around the internet from notable sources that have been proved right in the past, have all indicated that there is a PlayStation 5 Pro version coming towards the end of 2025 and the start of 2026. The second thing worth discussing there is the fact that a PlayStation 5 Pro will have to scale itself quite significantly away from the standard model. Anyone that looked and will look at the PlayStation 4, when the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro arrived, it divided a lot of development. You ended up with a system where you had the core system that was already halfway through its lifespan, and there in the middle you ended up with a system suddenly working a lot harder to load games, fans going bananas, and just lots of users having to accept that newer, more modern games were rocking out the gate that would just run better on a PlayStation 5 Pro. More sustainable frame rate. Again, you can look at Digital Foundry for some of their performance numbers on that. But moreover, that the newer version took advantage of newer hardware architecture that had been developed since the original PlayStation 4 had been released. Now, that is going to be true of the Gen 5, the PlayStation 5 Pro. But, and I just slipped the tongue there a little bit, one of the things I want to talk about in this video is the storage architecture. Because although the CPU will improve, the graphics will improve, the amount of memory will improve, and everything about it will improve, the thing I want to focus on is the storage. Because for those that have not been following storage over the last few years, you may not be aware that the SSDs that are utilised inside the PlayStation 4 are Gen 4 SSDs. Gen 4 SSDs from brands such as Samsung, WD, Seagate, but also lots of smaller brands and lots of lesser known brands in the West have been rocking out the gate with SSDs that provide in excess of 7,000 megabytes per second sequential performance. Sequential being block data all in a line. And these, again, these are these are tests that are performed in hypothetical scenarios. They are not day-to-day usage scenarios, but all of those SSDs would generally be put in a PS5 and give you 6,500 megabytes per second sequential performance of a synthetic nature within the PS5 of its own benchmarks. Now, when the PS5 Pro arrives, there is, I wouldn't even say decent, I'd say high possibilities that this system is going to be Gen 5 architecture, not Gen 4, which is what PlayStation 5 is, which means it will support much, much faster SSDs. SSDs like this, the Phison Maxion, this drive here can give you 14,000 megabytes per second, double the performance of Gen 4 SSDs like the Seagate Fire 30, double the performance of drives like the WD Black SN850, the Samsung 980 Pro. And that's not the only one. There are loads of other drives. Indeed, even Sony connected companies like Next Storage and Phison connected associated drives that are providing 10, 12, 14 gigabytes per second performance there. So when PlayStation 5 arrives, it's pretty logical to acknowledge that they're probably going to support the faster drives. Faster drives that can come out the gate that are already available in the market. So when PlayStation 5 arrives, the PlayStation 5 Pro arrives, certain things are going to need to change. One, heatsinks. There's going to be new heatsinks to go inside because the Gen 5 generation of drives are a lot hotter because they run hotter. Sustained performance is something of a negligible point. Unfortunately, we've talked about it in other videos. But the other thing to bear in mind is there's going to be users that bought the PlayStation 5 when it launched in winter 2020 who are going to have been having that system. We're getting up till end of 2025 or 2026 and going, if I'm going to upgrade my storage, why would I buy a 7,000 megs drive when I can now get a 12 or 14,000 megabytes per second drive there? And it's a valid point. There's a lot of users right now on the fence thinking about upgrading that horrific 600 gig storage after the OS that PlayStation 5 has, thinking about upgrading the storage and going, wait, if that new system arrives and I think I might get it, why would I get an older drive that when I put it in a newer system it might give me a performance dip? When PlayStation 5 Pro arrives, it's going to repeat the story of the PlayStation 4 Pro. It's going to create this two-tier system, which by the way already exists on Xbox with the Series X and S, but to a much wider degree than when the PlayStation 5 Pro arrives, with a decent possibility of being Gen 5, it's going to separate the field. It's going to create an architecture of a system that's going to run those faster drives. And I think it's worth pointing out for a lot of users that are looking to upgrade their PlayStation 5 standard right now, if you think there is a better than average chance that you are going to buy a PlayStation 5 Pro later on, and you were thinking of migrating that drive over, do not buy one. Normally, this is where I'd say, play safe, upgrade your storage, fine. Don't buy one. Do not buy one. Because that Gen 4 drive could potentially be something of a bottleneck in the PlayStation 5 Pro generation. Again, we don't have official numbers, and PlayStation 5 hardware, PlayStation 5 Pro, if it is legit, won't really roll out or be known until well into 2025. But there's a better than average chance of going for a opting for Gen 5 architecture, as the majority of higher end CPUs from AMD and Intel have been in the last 8 to 12 months. Then on the side of caution. Alternatively, if you wish and you were looking at upgrading your PS4 to PlayStation 5 standard today, what you can do is buy a Gen 5 drive, because Gen 5 drives are backwards compatible. They utilize something known as auto negotiation, which means if you take a Gen 5 drive and stick it in a Gen 4 system, they will go down to Gen 4. You'll still get that 7,000 megabytes per second performance. You just happen to have bought a drive today that will support the PlayStation 5 Pro if it goes to Gen 5 later on. I guess what I'm saying in today's video right now is, if you are still on the fence about buying upgraded storage for your PlayStation 5, things are going to get just a little bit more complex. And buying a drive that says PlayStation 5 compatible isn't the end of the story anymore if the PlayStation 5 Pro is going to go Gen 5. And bear in mind right now that client PC systems and gaming rigs on the PC side of things are still not able to fully utilize Gen 5 architecture as it is, but they're getting better. They're getting more efficient for sustained performance and temperatures and more. We're seeing drives like the Samsung 990 Evo Gen 5 drive, which took advantage of Gen 5 times 2 architecture there in order to leverage power and efficiency and heat against performance. So things are moving forward with storage. So if you're going to go for that PlayStation 5 Pro, such as it is, leaks aside, TBC, then definitely factor all of this in before you buy your storage. Because what you don't want to do is spend and save a little bit now and bottleneck yourself later, or buy a drive now that will just bottleneck you flat out. It's a lot of TBC, there's a lot to be confirmed, but nevertheless, I did think it was worth making a video about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I've done Gen 5 SSD reviews, you can check out more about those, and all of the PlayStation 5 tests as well. And I've also done some Gen 5 SSDs in a PS5 video as well for you to check out. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.